Hey guys, Sam here. Oh, we're midday, Monday, November 13th. I had a request to take a look at Ethereum here, so I thought we'd look at it both against the dollar as well as Bitcoin. Now, it's been a while since we've had a visit here to Ethereum because it's just been going nowhere. You can see we've just been stuck in this range here, and that seems to be continuing, at least relative to the dollar. Now, this is the 4-hour. Of Ethereum to the USD tether on Poloniex, and it's been technical, but we just haven't gotten anywhere. So we're just sort of stuck in this range. So if you see, if I pull from my low to my high here, well, here's the 50, and we just keep coming back and testing it. And you know, we may have the possibility for something to be starting here. It's certainly not a classic impulsive structure here. But there's been some buzz that there might be some interest coming in from the Korean market to get this to start moving again. We shall see, right? So it's always dangerous to try and overthink things, right? You trade what you see, and until you see something that is a pattern that that has probability and predictability based on historical outcomes, you're better to let the market show you the way, if you will. So looking here, so that we're stuck here on the 50 here. We did have this very nice technical bounce up here, which I've shown before, which we went from this swing low to swing high. We went right to the 786 to the tick, and we had some projection here that gave us that little cluster there, thus the box. So we are still internal to this very steep retracement that we went through, this steep correction. We're still internal to that, but we're not going lower to hit any algo targets down here, and we're just sort of going sideways. So pulling all of that off, knowing we're in this range, I mean, it's almost... I mean, there really is no count here. It doesn't really matter what you call this. Maybe it's a triangle. Maybe it's an A, B, C, D, E. There's just... I look at that, I see no trade. Why would I force something here when there's so many other coins that we could trade with much better technical setups? I just see no trade here. And until we get some push out of this range, it remains to be a trade and a coin that you keep an eye on. But right now I see no trade there. If I go down to the 60-minute, and I'm switching exchanges here just because, we'll cover everybody here. So here's your best case scenario for any kind of 5-wave structure. Looking at it on the 1 hour, well, you can see, potentially we have a leading diagonal, which could get us out of this range. So we get a little 5-wave 1 here. Here's the 3-wave into the 2. We got a push up here that did subdivide here, but then we overlap the 1. So this is very typical of a market that is trying to establish a trend, which is why you will only see diagonals like this, a leading diagonal in a 1 wave or an A wave. So maybe this is the start of a 1 wave, but it's got to prove itself. So far we've had a push and then gave it all back. Maybe you could give this a 1-2, 1-2. It's just there's not enough there to really warrant a trade, at least relative to the dollar. So if this pushes up here and we can qualify it and quantify it as a 1 wave, as a leading diagonal, well, then we might have something to trade. Then we'll wait for the 2 and look to get long off of that. But until we get there, this just remains to be just a choppy mess. Now, against Bitcoin, different story. And in fact, it looks much better against Bitcoin. So here you can see this is a trade that amongst members we're kind of teeing up here, hoping we get a shot at it. We may not. It may not come back down that far. But if we look here, this is the 1 hour Ethereum to Bitcoin on Poloniex, and just to show this again as I did in the previous video. When you're looking for where to trade it, assuming you have multiple accounts across multiple exchanges, we want to see where's the volume. So if I come here and again, this is off of CoinMarketCap, and I go over from charts and I switch over to markets, well, then I can see where the volume is. And so here, this is we saw that we saw this in Bitcoin Cash. We're seeing it in Litecoin, and potentially now we're seeing this volume spike into Ethereum, as you can see here. So here's the Korean money moving in. This is where all the volume is in the last 24 hours. But if I'm looking at Ethereum to Bitcoin, the volume is here in Poloniex. So that's why I have it up over here on Poloniex. So, if we scrunch out a little bit here and look at it, well, it almost really doesn't matter how you label this. Here's a good swing that we can use for a starting point as we get a clear 1-2. So then we actually do get fairly technical. Now, I'm going to pull this off here just to show you how you get this count on it. So let's take this off. So if you're looking at this at first glance, you look and you say, I'm going to take everything off just to recreate it so you can do the same thing. So if you're first looking at that, well, it's kind of this is confusing. It's kind of a mess. Is this the one? Is this the one? So how are you going to qualify this? Well, exactly as I've shown you many times. So we want to work off of the probabilities. So if indeed this is my 1-2, so let's check it, right? See if it's technical. So we go from the low to the swing high. To the swing high. Here's the 50. Here's the algo target, right? So signs potentially we have some algo participation here. There's the first target, blows through the second, goes to the -100, goes all the way to the -618. So potentially we have some algo activity here. So this is our first clue that at least perhaps we want to look there. So let me take that off. So if I'm looking at this as a 1-2, well, then I'm just going to use my probability counts relative to that 1-2. Well, where's the most likely location for a third wave? Well, that's the 1-618, between the 1-618 and the 1-7-5. And look where we go right here. I mean, almost to the tick. So now I'm looking at that going, okay, well, odds are that we have a 1-2 into a 3. I get a very shallow 4. There's a 5-wave structure. Okay, so looking at that, so now I can take this off and say, okay, well, if that's my push out of from these lows down here, if I've got a completed 1 and I've got a completed 5-wave structure, well, I'm going to look now for the 2. So retracing the entire move, swing low to high. I got that right on it. Swing low to high. Well, look where we've come. Now we have a double bottom here right into the Vegas wave at the 50. So knowing that we're looking for a 3-wave correction, so fairly easy to put an ABC on this and say, okay, well, there's my B, my C. So this is that pattern that we've seen. We are not seeing the traditional C waves. Now, we could keep going down lower here. So nothing says that we haven't, but it's starting to get some traction here. So perhaps the 50 is going to be all we get if we look at the alternate price projection. A wave from the B wave high. Well, here's the 618, here's the 100. That's why, as I said to my members this morning, I absolutely love it down here. Look at this overlap of the 100% A wave projected from the B wave, overlapping exactly with the 618, and then here's my 1 wave high. So this is absolutely stellar, right? If you could get it down here. Now, we may not get there. We may not. That just may have already come and gone. But look how great that is, because you've got very tight control on the risk, right? So you don't need to ride it below the 65. So you can be very tight. There's 14-1. That's just the first target. That's not using that same method that we used here to calculate a potential third wave. That's just looking at your first target. So if and remains to be seen, if we're going to get one more push down, well, we'd be looking for that at the 50. So going from the B to this swing here, well, if we're going to get some resistance here, then potentially we get a swing low. Now look here. So it remains to be seen, if we're going to turn here. But if we come up into this range and we're going down to the -23, well, see if you can see it there. It's a little hard to see it. Let me wiggle it. So if I wiggle that, you see the green line there. See how that you're getting this nice big confluence zone here, right down here, right at the 618. You know, so potentially that's a front run on the negative 23. So here's your next entry if we get it, but we may not. So we'd be looking for some resistance up here somewhere between the 50 and the 618, and then a push back down one more time for the sweetheart entry down here. And why do I like it so much? Because the risk is so low. So it's actually a better trade because the upside doesn't change. The target doesn't change. But the potential reward is stronger, is better and higher here if you're buying at the 618 than the 50, right? So if it's the 50, it's already gone, right? So it's not likely to come back. So now you're chasing it. You didn't, we did stall here. You got everything was there. You just didn't have the perfect scenario with regards to the alternate. So if we get one more push back down, that is definitely one we'll be buying. Well, let me put it this way. I'll be buying it down there. That's one that I know my members will be watching closely because that's just the kind of perfect setup that we look for. But, we don't know. For all we know, this is going to be. So what that would look like here on the larger degree, remember it's waves within waves. So if that's my 2, then I'm going up here. Let me put it in a different color. So then we'll go to a larger degree. Let's go to the minor. Okay, so potentially the 2 is in. Right, and now we're just going to go up. Now we're looking, we would look for potentially if we want to get into this, if we can get into it. Let me take this off. Right, if that's my 2, well, we don't despair that we've missed the trade. We're looking for the next 2. Do you understand? So what we're doing here, if that's my good low, if it is, and we don't know that it is, but if that's my good low, then I'm going to start a 1-2. Put that in a different color and put the wave on it so you get the idea. All right, do you see that? So if I've missed this, it's okay. All right, so I didn't get the absolute turn here off of that 2. Well, so at some point here, I'm going to get a pivot, which creates the next opportunity for the 2, for the next 2. Okay, so if we go up here, so now here's where it gets tricky. If we're going to go up here and hit resistance and we're going back down, well, then it becomes a question of do we take out the low here and head back down to this target, invalidating this as a 1-2, right? Because the 2 can't go below the start of the 1. So we don't know if this is going to go, if the C wave ends up, let me move that off. If the C wave comes down here and this becomes our 2, we can't quantify it yet. So how would we know? Well, the only way to know, well, you don't know really. So, but you can trade the probabilities. If we come up here, we're looking for 5-wave subdivision. So here, now I'm on a 1 hour. So I would have to go down to the 15-minute. Can I get a 5-wave subdivision to tell me that I'm now trending higher? The 5's define the trend. So if I get a 3-wave, then likely it's corrective, which would imply one more move down. So if it's 3-wave in here, then I'm looking for that. If it's 5-wave in a 1, then I'm looking for the 2. And I'm looking for that 2 to be corrective. So I'd be looking for the 2 to come down and do something like that. Put the wave on it so it makes sense. Right, do you see that? So if I get a 5-wave impulse into my 1, I'm looking for a 3-wave retracement into my 2, looking to catch the 3. See, there's your money-making wave. The 3 of 3. You see that? The 3 of 3. If we do it, if it ends up this way, let me take that off just to make the point. Because if we do this, like that. If we go 3-wave rather than 5-wave, then I'm looking for the last push down here. That would imply it's corrective. Then I'm looking for that. Right, so that's how going down to the smaller time frames help you identify where you are, at least where the probabilities are. Right, this is nothing's absolute, but it's the probability. So if I get a 3-wave structure here and I start to roll over, well then I'm getting more confidence in the potential setup here as my 2 to try and catch the big 3. If I go impulsive here, then I'm looking for that 3-wave correction to be a buyer on the potential 2 there. Right, so hopefully that makes sense. It's hard to verbalize it in terms of trying to describe the price action. So hopefully in showing this to you, and we'll visit back to it as it unfolds here, and we can get some clues on where we are. Do we go impulsive here, or do we stay corrective? Right, and that will be the tell. All right, that's probably enough for now. Okay, guys, I'll wrap it there.